So what's the initial take here so far?
I think the initial take is we are seeing a little bit more encouraging signs emerging for the Chinese economy. Certainly, the Golden Week data are adding more, elements to that story of, growth stabilization and some initial recovery from a very, low status in the second quarter. So I think it's encouraging. If we look at the data itself, we did some initial calculations on the early part of the Golden Week. I think one of the highlights is we are seeing some of the perhaps some reflation trend in terms of how people spend in terms of their services when it comes to holidays. For example, tourism income, just slightly up compared to 2019, while the number is quite similar to the number of visits to the tourist sites. So that is a little bit improvement compared to May holiday, where we see a very decent growth compared to 2019, but in terms of the tourism income, it's just about flat. So I think people are more willing to take further trips from where they live and also spend a little bit more or perhaps a longer holiday compared to before. So I think that is perhaps showing some signs of consumption demand stabilization at the list.
Does it at least give you a bit more encouraging signs that we've reached a cyclical bottom in the economy?
I think policy easing definitely come to a little bit of help here. We have seen a lot of incremental policy easing measures in the past few months. I think this would help to help the process of stabilization of growth. But of course, I think property is still adding a little bit of uncertainty.
Do we have any initial data from Golden Week on property yet?
The property data, if we take a look from for example, in the 30 major cities, data are not pretty at all. So very initial data on in the first 4 days for major cities showing the home sales are still declining by more than half compared to last year. Even though September data was a little bit better. So for example, like top 100 developers, new home sales was only contracting by like 24% compared to the decline of nearly 40% in August. So people are probably not in a rush to purchase, especially new homes, because people could be still concerned about the situation of the property developers, especially if those new homes are yet to be completed. But we are seeing more of the signs of a little bit of pickup in demand in the in the secondary market. But then that is not really helpful in terms of improving the balance sheet for the property developers.